Welcome to the 9th Digital Pathways Seminar. This digital literacy series for small business owners is made possible by the Metropolitan Partnership Development Fund, an initiative from the Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions. It is a collaboration between Bayside, Wurundjeri, Glen Eira and Stonington City Councils. This seminar will discuss how to cultivate loyalty amongst your customer base. So today we're looking at how to cultivate loyalty in the delight stage of the sales cycle. We'll begin by diving deeper into why loyalty is such an important part of the modern sales cycle, how you can cultivate loyalty amongst your customers, and how you transform a loyal customer into a brand ambassador. So in the last seminar, we discussed how you can optimize the customer's post-action experience to ensure that once they commit to your brand, they have a positive experience from the get-go. This week, we will focus on encouraging customer loyalty and look at how to give your customer the resources they need to become an advocate of your brand. To reiterate, the reason that in marketing we now talk in terms of a flywheel instead of a funnel is because in the marketing flywheel model, a great deal of emphasis is placed on the post-sale experience. Your goal at the delight stage is not only to live up to the promises you made your customer before they made their purchase, i.e. solving their problem or fulfilling their need, but to do it in such a way that your customer feels an affinity to your brand, that they feel so compelled by the positive experience, interaction, or care that they have received from you, that they feel the need to reciprocate in the relationship beyond just paying for goods or services. They feel the need to speak on behalf of your brand, to become an ambassador and to incorporate your brand as part of their life and their identity to a point where they recommend it to those in their close circles and are an advocate for your brand in public. Taking the time to establish long-term loyal relationships with your customers by focusing on their delight is ultimately a more sustainable marketing model for businesses, as it means that over time you'll build up a loyal audience base who do the marketing for you as brand ambassadors through word of mouth. This minimizes the need to spend money on things like paid advertising to make potential target audiences aware of your business, because it will happen naturally through your brand ambassadors. Ultimately, your loyal customer base is the thing that will come to drive the digital purchase flywheel and give it momentum. So to cultivate loyalty, you need to personalize. So your customer is taking the time to learn about your brand and expertise. Now it is time to reciprocate and make them feel seen as an individual, not just a transaction. Now, rewards. This is an optional technique that can be used. Rewards can be a catalyst to cultivating loyalty and repeat purchase, but they are not necessary if you do the other things correctly. Cultivating a sense of belonging. So make your customer feel like they belong to a community. Studies suggest that people can grow to feel very intense emotions for brands and see them almost like a friend, making them feel like they have an ongoing relationship with your brand and are connected to a community is a powerful tool. You also need to remain consistent and relatable as a brand. If you want your customer to remain loyal to your brand, you need to be consistent in language, imagery, communications, tone, etc. Just as you might be confused if a close friend acted in a way that you considered out of character, customers become confused and suspicious when brands are inconsistent in the way that they represent themselves. You also need to continue to provide strong customer service. So you need to remain responsive and engaged whenever your customer reaches out in order to create a reciprocal relationship where you are supporting one another. And communication. So to turn your loyal customer into a brand ambassador, you need to instruct them how to do that, and you need to be explicit about it. So this is how you personalize. I know this image is a little bit cringy, but it's basically the situation you want to cultivate when you're working towards loyalty. You want to get as close to talking to your customer on a face-to-face, friend-to-friend basis as you possibly can. Now, the base level for this is making sure that you always refer to your customer by name whenever you contact them post-purchase. And we discussed this a little in the previous seminar. And we need to go beyond this. So as you now know a little bit about your customer based on their purchase with you, you can also go a step further and tailor your communications in a way that you know suits their lifestyle. So for example, if you're a garden supply store and you have a customer who has just bought a ride-on mower and a dozen fruit trees, you could tailor your email marketing to them and send them things like advice on preparing their garden for spring or lawn care for summer, or you could even go more specific and promote products to remove something like fruit tree pests. What you wouldn't send them is information about how to grow a veggie patch on a small apartment balcony in the city. Checking in is another form of personalisation, as once you know about your customers' needs, you can anticipate them when they will need to purchase again. This is a particularly important strategy for service providers, as it demonstrates that you care about their needs and are mindful of their unique circumstances. An example might be something like a vet who sends out a reminder text or email every 6 months, reminding a client that their pet is now an older animal, they need a twice yearly checkup as opposed to a once yearly checkup for a young animal. And they'll probably include something like a booking link. If you have the means, offering a reward system for repeat purchases or those who refer on your services to another person can be an effective way of kickstarting a reciprocal relationship with your customer. It's not 100% necessary. It's more like a conversion tactic. If you have, if you're personalizing, effectively communicating and cultivating a sense of belonging within your customer in your techniques, this should be enough to establish a loyal customer. This reward tactic is more commonly used by larger brands who tend to have larger profit margins, but often struggle to form personal connection with their customers. So they have more money than time. One clear example of this is Mecca. This is an Australian beauty company. Basically, they offer a system called the Beauty Loop system, where you can sign up, you become a member. The more you spend, the higher you go in the levels of the Beauty Loop. So in a sense, this is gamification. In that the more money that you spend, the higher up you get in their membership hierarchy. You jump across levels, so you're almost turning purchasing into a game. And the higher you get, the more money that you spend, the higher you get, the more rewards you unlock. So they have birthday gifts, they have sample boxes, they offer bonuses occasionally, things like full-size products or experimental products. They offer insider access to new things, and they offer in-store makeup applications as well. So cultivating a sense of belonging is perhaps the most powerful technique you can engage when cultivating loyalty. So encouraging belonging or a sense of belonging or ownership over your brand is a really powerful thing to do. Humans are pack animals, and the desire to be accepted and belong in a community is a powerful psychological driver. A loyalty is something that is performed. So you need to create opportunities for your customers to display their loyalty to your business and then recognize them for their efforts. So creating a membership space is one way of doing this. This could mean something like a membership portal on your website where a customer logs in. It doesn't have to offer anything particularly special other than their saved details and their purchase history, but it's a psychological tool. They literally belong to a club that has a secret password. Another way of doing this is by creating closed social media groups for clients or participants to keep them updated on things that might interest them and enable them to form relationships with other like-minded people who feel an affinity to your brand. Exclusivity is another technique here, creating the idea that your customer belongs to a private club, which affords them certain benefits, makes them feel privileged and special. This could mean anything from special prices on new products. So for example, if you are a streaming service and you have a new course available, you might offer previous customers a discounted rate, or something like offering early access to sales for loyal customers or customers that have signed up to your database. Customer service also plays a role in cultivating belonging. So you need to check in with your client, make them feel like they have a space to voice their opinions and their feelings, and that you will be there to actively listen and engage with them. So again, cultivating a sense of reciprocity. Celebrating their wins and resharing their content via social media when they talk about your brand is another way to make them feel like accepted members of your community. I'm not going to dive too deeply into the psychology of social media here, but basically acknowledging and engaging with a person's post on social media does things like boost their self-esteem. It triggers the release of oxytocin in the brain. This is a chemical that reduces stress, boosts feelings of love, trust, and empathy. And it also affirms their identity. A study in marketing and psychology in May 2015 showed volunteers two types of photos. The one was the logo for a brand that they loved, and another was pictures of their partners and closest friends. Their psychological arousal to the logo was as intense as the arousal of looking at a picture of their closest friend. This is really suggesting that at a certain point, consumer psychology comes to recognize, an individual comes to recognize a brand as something that they are in a relationship with, as an entity that they have a relationship with, that they have feelings for, that they feel connected to. So here is an example of a brand that does sharing wins very effectively. This is a celebrity cook, Julie Nishimura. She makes a point of regularly sharing all of the stories, resharing on her stories, content posted by people who have tagged her. So anytime someone cooks one of her recipes, has a public profile and tags her name in it, she will repost the recipe up on her own personal profile, sharing it with 101,000 followers. And yeah, recognizing them, acknowledging them as part of her community, part of her brand, giving them literally saying, you belong here, I'm putting your images here. I see you as part of my family, my brand family. An example of a brand that does membership space creation quite well is Money Girl. This is a financial literacy course provider for young women, millennials and Gen Z. They have a private Facebook group. So the service is you sign up to their courses, which are run via Zoom on a weekly basis for about 4 weeks. You pay a price for that, and it also affords you access to their private Facebook group. This is a group basically where members of the community share thoughts and feelings about their financial journeys, share their wins, share information about new products coming out, new services, controversial opinions in the industry, where they ask questions of one another. Basically, it's a space where everybody can communicate with each other and feel engaged. So to transform a loyal customer into a brand ambassador, you have to communicate and explicitly request feedback and engagement, follow it up with a call to action. So you need to basically instruct how you want your customer to reciprocate the positive experience that you've provided for them. This doesn't have to be complicated. There are no tricks here. You just have to ask, and you just have to be clear about asking, and ideally put a call to action at the end so they can immediately read the request and then act on it. If you've taken the time to make your customer feel seen as an individual, feel part of a community, feel an affinity to your brand, and feel delight in their experience with you, then you don't really need to apply any pressure or offer any kind of reward. Your customer will see themselves as being in a relationship with your brand and want to support and uplift you in the same way that they would a friend. So this week's workshop tasks. This week's task is to examine your existing loyalty cultivation strategy. Does it include personalisation, some kind of reward? Does it create a sense of belonging? And is there some kind of form of explicit communication asking them to review or share their experience with your brand or engage with your brand again? Are you asking them to tag you on social media? Are you asking them to leave you a review on Google? Is there a way that you are teaching them how to become a brand ambassador? If not, take the time to explore some of the ways that this might be possible for your brand. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you tune in again next week.